think about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. I'm ready, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby. Such a rush, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, cats and chicks, guys and dolls, you're listening to Viva, ENT, Rock, Pop, and Soul. I'm your host today, Devin, the happy-go-lucky dude.
Hey, happy-go-lucky dudes! Where are you?
I'm backstage with Gary Clark Jr. And I'm here today with my guest, Mr. Darren the Do Train Camp.
Thank you. Happy to be here today.
And of course, the greatest producer of all time, anywhere, is...
Hey, it's Eric.
CC Reidar! Talented musician and great radio announcer.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And
the lead of Battersea.
That's true. And noticeably absent, of course, from especially the CC Reidar chant here, is our co-host, Johnny. Johnny the Capo, who normally joins us, but is busy today over at Ocean Shores. So we're wishing him the best, and hopefully he's having a great day. And that's not going to stop us from talking about music, though.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, he runs most of Western Washington's music scene. He doesn't get much more west than the West Coast there.
Than Ocean Shores.
Yes. Hard to get further west. Unless you're in Hawaii or something.
There you go.
I'm sure he's been out to Hawaii and done shows too. But
probably.
Yeah, he gets around. Well, today's big topic is Tears for Fears and Cold War Kids, because we are seeing them tonight at the Climate Pledge Arena.
Yes.
Basically a couple hours from now. So
that's right.
I am stoked. So stoked. Tears for Fears has had ups and downs over their career. But there's this quintessential 80s music that I go back to as much as like Queen or like Van Halen, of like the quintessential.
Or Duran, who we just recently saw.
Yeah. Oh, and Sheryl Crow was incredible this last week. I'm up to 104 shows this year. So,
wow.
Sunday I managed to record 15 bands at the Slim Last Chance Saloon. They
Goodness, that's crazy.
A festival. I mean, they're only playing about 3 or 4 songs a piece. But
sure.
And then from there, I went to Gary Clark Jr. and Brady Watts at the San Michelle Winery. So
yeah, fun.
And Rain is coming there, the tribute to the Beatles. That's tomorrow.
A friend of mine at work, Carol Ann, wants to go see Rain.
Or Saturday, actually.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good show.
But Tears for Fears.
They're like some of the soundtrack to my high school. Yeah, because I was in high school back in the, mid 80s, and when Songs from the Big Chair came out, boy, that was all over our halls at high school and up in the parking lot and stuff.
That really ruled the radio.
It did.
When it
ruled
came
the
out.
world.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, no, that was a great one. And of course, spawned 2 number 1 hits in the U.S., which, huge, 2 Billboard number 1s, and, some other great hits as well. Yeah, I remember I worked with the guy who got me my tickets to Prince, the Purple Rain tour concert that I went to in 1985. I used to go to his place after work, and we'd listen to Tears for Fears a lot. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, like the growth of the band, because they're from Britain, they're from Bath.
Yep, in Somerset.
Yep, and they have been on the Mad World. Like the song has been from Adam Levine, Adam Lambert. So I remember his big. Now he's with Queen. But
Adam Lambert singing for Queen. Yeah,
but he was with American Idol. That was his big hit.
They're a band that had, obviously smash success in the 80s, but then their career kind of tapered off a little bit. So they could have been forgotten. A lot of 80s bands that had success have kind of been forgotten. You know, they're playing the casino circuit. You know, more power to them. Like your Loverboys of the world. Loverboy was massive, right? But they're not playing Climate Pledge Arena.
REO
now.
Speedwagon we're
right.
seeing at a casino next month.
Exactly.
Right.
And not dissing those artists in any way, but over I'd say the last 10, 15 years or so, Tears for Fears, their legend, their influence has really grown. And I think a part of that was, of course, Mad World being used in the Donnie Darko soundtrack. Gary Jules covering that. That became a smash hit. And I think just people over the years have just really shown their appreciation for the band. And a lot of people that use samples in their music have sampled Tears for Fears. And it's just kind of kept them in the public consciousness in a way that a lot of other bands just haven't had that. So it's definitely an interesting group to look at for sure.
Absolutely.
And their chart success has come back up since their tour as well. So they're back in the top 200 right now.
Yeah, they've re-entered some of their songs into the charts, which is very interesting based on the popularity of these tours that they've been doing recently.
They're timeless music.
It really is, yeah.
Well, so what are your some favorite songs of?
I mean, you know, Shout,
Yeah.
obviously, is one of the huge ones.
What about you, Eric?
You know, I'm a big fan of their first album, The Hurting. So a lot of the songs off that I loved. And then, you know, when songs from The Big Chair came out, I loved those big hits too. So like Pale Shelter is fantastic. Mad World, which I already mentioned. Of course, Change, which was a minor hit in the U.S. over here, but was a really big hit in the U.K.
You walked into the room. I just had to laugh. The face you wore was cool. You were a photograph when it's all too late. It's all too late. I did not have the time. I did not have the nerve to ask you how you feel. Is this what you deserve when it's all too late? It's all too late. Change. You can change.
Lots of great percussion, little subtle stuff. In the
Absolutely.
background.
I mean, essentially, they were a synth pop band, but they really, you know, benefited. I think a lot of synth pop bands just were essentially one guy doing a keyboard,
Yeah.
which totally cool, very 80s. But they did a great job of mixing in live instrumentation with the synth pop, and it gave them a kind of a fleshed out sound that a lot of synth groups from the time didn't have.
And you know, I have not seen a Tears for Fears tribute band. They have such a unique sound. It's really hard to recapture their sounds.
That's a good point. I'd never thought of that, but yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of one either.
Well, one of the special things about them is the way that their voices blend together. You know, I've had a hard time over the years distinguishing which vocal was done by Roland and which was done by Kurt. They just do such a good job of blending their two voices.
They're so in sync together. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching the documentary Scenes from the Big Chair, which is available free on YouTube. And I've posted it on the Viva ENT Rock, Pop, and Soul Facebook group, which I encourage everyone to join and
Yes, please.
engage.
Yes.
There's quite a community out there that's been growing.
Yep. No, I post on there and comment on there regularly, but we could use more people. So if
Always.
anybody wants to join, just click the button on the page, and we'd love to have you.
And while you're on the web, you should check out Devin Creisler Studios. That's where I got 5,000 subscribers, 5,000 videos, and more growing by the day. And also your YouTube channel, yeah.
Yep. I'm at Do Train, and I've got about 1,600 subscribers and about 1,800 videos now.
So just keep posting, and we'll just keep growing.
Yep. Keep liking, keep watching, keep
Including
commenting.
Battersea's the performance.
That's right. We've seen Battersea 3 times recently.
That's right. Yeah, and I've been very pleased to see how many people have checked out the videos of the live shows on your guys' channel. So thanks for being there, first of all, and thanks for posting those up.
Sure, and then you have an upcoming show right here, too.
We do, yeah. We're playing the Music and Heart in Wright Park Festival, which is coming up August 12th in Wright Park in Tacoma. Which it used to be called Music and Art in Wright Park, but now it's Music and Heart, so it's a little more, little broader with what they can involve. But cool. Yeah, it's a very cool festival.
Yeah, August.
And totally free too. So
nice.
Everybody should turn out.
August is going to be great because we're going to see Alicia Keys July 30th, and then August 1st Beck in Phoenix. The 3rd, Bryan Adams and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. The 4th, Greta Van Fleet. The 10th is Buddy Guy. 11th, Rod Stewart Cheap Trick. 12th, the Battersea Show, potentially. Then
it's a full next couple of weeks.
Then REO Speedwagon is the 23rd.
The rescheduled.
Casino. Yep, and then Beach Boys, which we're stoked for.
Yeah, that's a bucket list show for me, amazingly enough. I've never seen the Beach Boys.
It's been the year of the 80s bands because in September, Rick Springfield and Tommy Two-Tone are playing at Merrymore Park.
And the Hooters.
Wow.
That's going to be fun.
But quintessential 80s band.
Another high school flashback for me.
For sure.
These Tears for Fears. I mean, that was one of my most stoked shows of the year. Like Sheryl Crow was up there too.
Sheryl Crow was amazing, but Tears for Fears is going to be great. I've been going online and looking up some stuff. It sounds like they're sounding really good, and the tour's going well.
And we practiced shedding some tears at Disturbed because not a dry eye in that crowd.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, that was a story all its own. But that was a great show at White River. My first time at White River Amphitheater, so that was pretty fun.
We survived the White River Amphitheater.
The parking experience.
I'll always allow more time. We were late. We missed the whole first band.
Yeah.
Well,
getting in and out of there is a slog. But anyway. So now, should we talk a little bit about the Cold War Kids real quick?
Anything you guys wanted to say about Cold War Kids? So as the opening act for Tears for Fears, they could be the opening act in this show as well.
Oh, that's a good idea. They they're a newer band, 2004 American band, but they got a few big hits. I really like the song First, Hang Me Up to Dry, and
this is a little bit of First. This is probably their biggest hit from 2015.
Yes.
From their Hold My Home album. Maybe a slightly odd choice in my mind to open for Tears for Fears. But in another way, it's really good because it kind of, brings the generations together.
I think it's appropriate. Oh.
Sure. Yeah. I sort of thought the same thing. But, it's a lot more lately. That's been a thing. You know what I'm saying? With other tours and stuff as well. Bringing in people that aren't necessarily right in that same wheelhouse or genre,
right.
but someone good that, that people like.
For sure.
Yeah, Duran. They had Chic and Bastille.
Yeah, and then they also had
the Nile Rodgers. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, to me that makes sense because they're both, similar eras. And, they're both mining disco in different ways, for sure. Bastille would have been the kind of the Cold War Kids equivalent.
That was what I was going to say.
Spotting the, the generations, bringing them together. But like, for instance, I saw New Order and Pet Shop Boys together last year. And that, to me, that was just like marriage made in heaven. You know, it was just like, okay, it makes perfect sense. People that like that band is going to like the other band and vice versa. You know, they had hits along the same time period, mining similar material, and even, Pet Shop Boys kind of teamed up with Bernard Sumner from New Order and did electronic at one point. So, that was it just made perfect sense. So Cold War Kids and Tears for Fears, I'm not sure the connection, but as I said, I think it's good to bring the generations together. So,
Yeahs and Perfume Genius, they went and performed a song together. That was,
cool.
Yeah, we've seen some interesting pairings recently, but it's become more of a thing. Yeah.
So,
right on.
Stoked for Cold War Kids, but it's just like I've listened to Tears for Fears for ages. So and like they're just such a good vibe.
Well, that was another case of high school. I think I told the story to you, Devin, about how the girls in high school, they had no interest in me. They had all the interest in Nick Rhodes and Andy Taylor and the guys from Duran Duran.
Sure.
And they had all the posters in their lockers and stuff. But they liked these guys, Kurt, and Roland.
And Roland, yeah.
Had posters of Tears for Fears in their lockers and just, paid no attention to me.
Well, hard to compete.
Exactly.
Hard to compete with Tears for Fears.
Exactly.
and their music videos are like they're doing some great production.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
They had some good creative people working on their videos.
I mean,
I was going to say they had a very famous acrimonious split, at one point, and went their separate ways. And one of them, of course, retained, the rights to the Tears for Fears name and all that. And then, 10 years later, they sort of, made up and got back together and started doing stuff again together, which is good because that produces what we're going to see tomorrow.
I was doing research. There's quite a lot of songs that I'm not familiar with. I doubt they charted, but they've been producing.
They've got a big catalog. Yes, for sure. Another one I was going to mention that I didn't mention, Head Over Heels.
Yeah, that was going to say my favorite song by them.
Huge hit. It's such a great song.
Yeah.
Well, kind of an odd name, Tears for Fears, I think. But this was a name derived from Arthur Janov's Primal Scream therapy in his book about it. And that also influenced the name of the first album, The Hurting, which, maybe not the greatest name for a debut album, but was a great album and did spawn, quite a few hit singles, especially in the UK. And Pale Shelter was the first one, but it didn't do anything when it initially came out. It was the second single, Mad World, that put them on the map. So this was a number 3 hit in 1982.
Yeah, when I was just first getting into high school.
And we covered the 80s a couple years ago. We went through year by year and
right.
Viva, ENT, and there's a bunch of Tears for Fears in the.
Absolutely,
like this song, yeah.
And this was number 3 in the UK. It didn't chart in the US, but it did have success in Australia and France and Germany and Ireland and New Zealand, and it really helped, put them on the map, as I said. And then the second single, which we already played a little bit of, Change, was a big hit. But I want to quickly just segue to the Gary Jules version of this, because, again, in a time where people maybe weren't, so conscious of Tears for Fears, this version of Mad World came out, and it was a hit all over again, but a very different interpretation.
Sure.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, go are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world.
And this was a #1 hit on the Adult Alternative Songs chart in the U.S. in 2003 or 2004. Came out in 2003. It kind of bubbled under for a little bit, but as I said, was used on the Donnie Darko soundtrack, and it just really put Tears for Fears back in the public consciousness, even though it wasn't them doing the song.
Sure.
Which is kind of interesting, but a great version of the song, but just completely different interpretation.
Can we hear Adam Lambert's version on American Idol, if that's something?
Oh, sure.
Pull up, because I remember watching I didn't watch much American Idol, but when I did, I remember he won for that, and it really. And then now he's touring with Queen, so I saw his career just spark from there.
Yeah. Oh, he's pretty amazing.
And it sounds like he definitely is kind of covering the Gary Jules arrangement here.
Slower.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. I went to school and I was very nervous.
Well, it is a mad world out there.
It absolutely is.
It really is.
But it's interesting that this, this kind of became a hit in the U.S., even though initially it wasn't a hit with the Tears for Fears version. But it seemed like everybody kind of knew, oh yeah, that's Tears for Fears. So it's one of the rare times where like a hit cover will help people actually rediscover the songwriters and originators of a tune.
Yeah, the original band.
And people looking up Mad World might discover it's a mad, 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 mad world, the movie.
they might.
That's a classic.
Is that what, Woody Allen?
I don't think so, but
Oh, that's no, I know who it is.
it's under the big W. That's where all the gold is.
So 3 smash hit singles from The Hurting, because Pale Shelter was re-released in 1983 and went to number 5. But another great song from The Hurting, Pale Shelter.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen this video, well worth checking out the video. Features some great visuals, and also features Roland Orzabal getting a hit in the eyeball with a paper airplane.
Oh, goodness.
Yikes. Now, a lot of their songs, you can't really make out the lyrics because you're vibing to the tune, but there's really some powerful messages going on.
Absolutely, yeah. And, speaking of that, I mean, Mad World includes the line, the dreams in which I'm dying is the best I've ever had. And a lot of people have misinterpreted that lyric to be like very dark, like almost suicidal thoughts, essentially. But the way Roland described it is, it literally being about dreams and change, and not being about, suicide or dying or anything like that. Just changing your outlook.
You know what? Like a phoenix or something.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
The movie, what was it? It was the movie, I think it was Dreamscape, the one that Natalie Wood died during the filming of. And at the end of the movie, she dies and she puts the little headset on and records a bunch of her like dying memories. And basically, it's that same thing. Some of her dying memories were some of the best memories that she ever had. And after she had died in the movie, Christopher Walken went back and reviewed her memories, which a lot of them included him, and realized that
these dreams need more cowbell.
Not quite then, but yeah, eventually they did. But yeah, I mean, so it's just sort of the similar idea of your dying dreams being some of the best dreams.
And a lot of their lyrics were impressionistic, but it definitely was done in a way that was very interesting, and you couldn't necessarily just take everything at face value. There was something deeper going on, clearly, with all their lyrics.
Sure.
As big as The Hurting was, it had, it went to silver status in the UK, and a lot of bands maybe would have one record that would do that kind of success, and they'd be very happy with that.
Yeah.
But when they came back with Songs from the Big Chair in 1984, and they released a non-album single in between, The Way You Are and Mother's Talk, was an early single before the album came out. It was Shout in 1984 that was the hugest smash and just made them international superstars.
Yeah. Great percussion.
Instant hook.
Yeah. Triangle.
Shout, let it all out. These are the things I can do without. Come on, I'm talking to you. Come on.
And definitely going back to that well of Primal Scream therapy as inspiration with this one.
These are the things I can do without. Come on, I'm talking to you. Come on. In violent times, you shouldn't have to sell your soul. In black and white, they really, really ought to know. Those one-track minds.
Yeah, I was 9 years old when this came out, and definitely was blasting the radio every time it came on. This was probably my favorite song of the year at the time.
Did you have it on 8-track eventually, or?
No, I think 8 tracks were done already. I mean, they were still making them by 84, but
Not really.
Yeah. That was something like my uncles would have had in their cars or something.
Right.
You had
Not-
cassettes.
yeah.
So I was going to say this, though. So earlier you're talking about The Hurting and that sort of coming from the Primal Scream therapy.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the big chair that they refer to is the chair that you sit in during the therapy?
I think the big chair was a chair in the studio that they were using.
Gotcha.
I actually saw an interview recently with Andy Rourke from the Smiths, and they recorded in the same studio, and their joke was, "Look, I'm in the big chair."
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, they were all taking turns swapping out being in the big chair from songs from the big chair.
I like it.
And there was something like he grew up with a big chair, and his mom would sit in the big chair.
So this song in 1984 came out when I had my very first job ever, and as I said, one of the guys that I worked with, we would go to his place after work and listen to this stuff, listen to Prince and other good stuff from this era. My first job.
My first job, Radio Shack, we listened to this song too. So
that's cool.
Yeah, classic rock station.
Some music is just timeless.
And Canada listened to this song, and they later did without nuclear weapons around this time. But maybe some other countries could listen about that. But
that'd be nice.
It's a protest song. How appropriate that Cold War kids and Tears for Fears are coming the week after Oppenheimer just came out.
There you go.
And Beck is coming, and Futurama, the new Futurama that's landed too. So
that's right.
And Beck has been on Futurama.
He's been on Futurama.
So, what a big summer it's been.
Absolutely. And of course, the next big single did even more than shout.
Yeah.
Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Complete, utter smash.
I was thinking they should have called this new tour "We Rule the World Tour."
we did it. we achieved it. We finally got our goal of ruling the world. But yeah, Shout was number one, and then the follow up in '85, Everybody Wants to Rule the World also went to number one. Bigger in the U.S. even than in the U.K., where it went to number two.
Based on 2 chords.
Good chords, though.
Yes, great chords.
And again, all over the radio in 1985, and MTV just played this video relentlessly, and I was there for it. I was happy to see it every time because there was a lot of dross that was on the radio and on MTV at the time. So this was a welcome respite in pop music. But I mean, there was other great stuff out at the time that was big, like Peter Gabriel's So album was really big at this time, and so was Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax. There was like another British invasion kind of happening at that time, and Tears for Fears were part of that, and probably the most successful of them. Yeah.
And we're stoked to also see Peter Gabriel this year.
Yeah, we are going to go see him too.
Sting as well. Is Sting British?
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah,
Gordon.
Sting
Mr. Gordon
British,
Sumner.
definitely, yes.
Mr. Gordon Sumner.
He fronted the Police for many years before doing a solo thing. Now, according to Wikipedia, the album was originally going to be titled The Working Hour, but Roland Orzabal fought to change it to Songs from the Big Chair, and it says the title actually derived from the 1976 American television film Sybil, about a woman who with multiple personality disorder who only feels safe when sitting in her analysis big chair. The title reflects the band's opinion that they were the targets of hostile British music press. So interesting. Bunch of different stories about the title out there.
Right.
And now they're on the Tipping Point Tour Part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah, because they were on the tour in 2022, but then they had to postpone some dates due to some broken roads in a road accident.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hadn't heard that one.
Here's one of your favorites, Darren.
Here it goes.
Head Over Heels, released in 1985, the third single from the album, actually the fourth single because Mother's Talk, as I said, did come out before Shout. But Head Over Heels went to number 12 in the U.S. Or number 3 in the U.S., 12 in the U.K. One of those interesting things where a British band had a bigger album in the U.S. than in their home country, the U.K.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another great video. This one features Roland hassling a librarian in a library in presumably New York. And their keyboard player looks remarkably like the actor that played Uncle Joey on the Full House series. So every time I see it, I think, oh, Uncle Joey's on keyboards there. But yeah, every single that came off this album at the time just blew up the radio, and it was my favorite song at that point. You know, it was like, yes.
Yeah.
Another good one.
And as I said, they actually played this song on the station that we played at work at my first job there at Pier 1 Imports in 1984 and 5. And oh my goodness, we'd hear this one and be like, yeah, at least we're getting to hear a good one finally. Because some of the stuff we heard wasn't so great.
Absolutely, yeah.
As you mentioned, there was a lot of draws.
Peculiar music video. There's a chimpanzee in the library.
That's right.
He walks in with this handful of books, and the show behind the scenes, he's like in this chair going up and down, like how they did those shots. Yeah.
And, you know, this album was so big that immediately after all these smash hits, the singles from The Hurting started charting again in the UK. Suffer the Children, their first single, went back into the charts at 52. Pale Shelter back in the charts. And, you know, Everybody Wants to Rule the World charted a second time at 86. And so, you know, that's how big an album it was. You know, people started discovering their back catalog at that point at such a rate that it got back in the charts again.
Yeah, it started getting plays on the radio again and stuff a lot more. Yeah.
Funny how time flies.
It's funny how time flies.
That's right.
I just told you that the other day, Devin.
Have you read the book Tears for Fears: The Seeds of Love, from 1990?
I haven't read that one.
To take a look at the library for that one.
With maybe the chimpanzee can hand me that one off the shelf.
Right. It may well be in that very library that they filmed the video in. But yeah, how do you follow up, such a huge album? And no doubt they toured relentlessly for it, and they released all those singles that were smash hits. So they had to go away for a little while to work on a new album and to get inspiration and figure out what their direction would be. And so it wasn't until 1989, which is 5 years after the release of, Shout and Songs from the Big Chair. So many times a band goes away for 5 years, it's over, But they did pretty well with the follow-up, The Seeds of Love, which came out in 1989. It wasn't quite the success that Songs from the Big Chair was, but pretty hard for anybody to, make a record that would be bigger than that.
Exactly.
But they took a very Beatles-esque influence and direction with The Seeds of Love, the follow-up in 1989.
I mean, the name Love is right in the title.
Right.
And that was the biggest thing for the Beatles.
All you need is.
That's it.
And I'd say in 1985, they were the vanguard of pop music. Everybody was trying to be like them. But by the time this album came out in 1989, they were really kind of out of step with what everybody else was doing musically. A lot of bands were still kind of aping what Tears for Fears had already pioneered. And Tears for Fears were, decided they want to go in a different, new direction.
Yeah, moved on.
Yeah, they had moved on, yeah. So this album really kind of felt, out of step with all the pop music at the time. But at this point, they were so popular that, this album actually did garner them some success.
Yeah, they had enough gravitas to do what they wanted.
Absolutely.
And not kowtow to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this song really, 5 songs in one.
Yeah. Funny, it almost reminds me a little bit of Joe Jackson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's got a little bit of that kind of sound going on.
And the Beatles would do that. They'd have 3 or 4 songs. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The backing vocals on that track are very Beatles-esque. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of other elements of it as well.
So you hear the big 4 of Tears for Fears songs, but you don't hear many others on the radio very often.
Right.
But there are some good ones that we should check out. There's quite an extensive list here of
yeah.
songs.
Well, you printed out a big list. A lot of them I've never heard, but
well, this one doesn't get much airplay these days, but at the time it did okay. I remember seeing the video quite a bit. Woman in Chains, which was the follow-up to Sowing the Seeds of Love. Only went to number 26, but still pretty popular, featuring Oleta Adams also on vocals with this one. Kind of a different feel for them for sure. Most of their singles had been, poppy, energetic hits, and this was like maybe their first big ballad. And as I'm looking at this, I see that their greatest hits album is called Rule the World.
Yeah. Well,
which couldn't really be named anything else, could it?
I was going to say, what else would you call it?
That's right.
It's funny. It reminds me a little bit of Sade.
Yeah, there was definitely...
Has that feel.
Yeah.
Same era as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a lot mellower.
Yeah.
Right. And then the follow-up was pretty mellow, too. I remember Advice for the Young at Heart, which didn't do quite as well, even as Woman in Chains. It was kind of diminishing returns for this album, number 36. In 1990, the third single from Sowing the Seeds of Love. This one featuring Kurt Smith on lead vocals, where it was Roland on the previous song. And after touring this album quite extensively, this is when they had that acrimonious split. And Kurt Smith actually did his own solo project, I believe was called Marigold. And Roland Orzabal kept the name Tears for Fears and did his own thing, kind of doing a solo record, but still calling it Tears for Fears. And it was called Elemental.
And this was before Raul and the Kings of Spain, the next album.
Yeah.
Right.
1993 for Elemental. I remember.
And it did
that.
actually feature a hit single called Break It Down, which I remember actually a great song. This came out in 1993 and went to number 20. Now, I wonder if they ever do this song, because it's a great song and was a big hit for Tears for Fears, but didn't feature Kurt. So I wonder if there's still some acrimony there, if Roland's like, hey, let's put Break It Down in the set. Is Kurt like, hell no? Or or is he like, no, that was a big hit for our band, even though I'm not in it at that point, and says, yeah, let's do it. I always wonder with, like groups that have like lineup changes or, one guy leaves the band and then comes back in.
Yeah.
Do they do the songs that were successful when, that other important person of the group is no longer in the group?
Oh, yeah. You know what that reminds me a little bit of? Does Sammy Hagar do songs that were sung by David Lee Roth when he's in Van Halen?
I think he had to.
I think he had
didn't
to.
have a choice, yeah. Guys, we've only got about 2 minutes, unfortunately,
Okay.
and then we're going to have to break it down.
Oh, hell,
Break it
time
down
flies.
again.
Yeah.
But any thoughts, anything you want to plug before we get out of here today?
Well, we got to get to the show here, man. We got to get.
Yeah,
to,
we got to get rolling to the show. But what Johnny wanted to have you shout out something?
Well, he's got shows in Ocean Shores. We'll find on Viva ENT Facebook group. You'll have all the big events coming up, including this week Tony V's Garage. There's Done to Death. It's a Pig Records EP release. Daryl's Tavern that night. Filthy Traders, Brother Ratter playing that day at Freeway Park. Citrus is playing at noon. So,
But we're going to capture all this great Tears for Fears and Cold War Kids footage tonight. And it'll be up on our YouTube channels soon, folks.
shortly, yep. So
look for it there.
With the rest of the band. So
awesome. And I am seeing on YouTube that there is actually a live version of that done last year. So they must actually throw that in the mix, which is cool.
I like it.
And so why don't we leave folks today with The Tipping Point. This is from their latest album, The Tipping Point, that came out in 2021, I believe. At least the single came out, and the album came out, I think, in 2022. But, they are back, and I hope you guys have a great time at the show. I wish I could be there.
Thanks so much, yeah.
thank you, everyone. Keep on rocking.
Yep, keep listening.